There is no doubt that 2025 has indeed been a year of playability for Star Citizen, especially if you compare to how it used to be in the previous years, or game sessions are definitely much longer and more stable. That being said, not everything is perfect, and especially in Star Citizen 4.4, I was able to play a little bit more here and note down 10 particular aspects of playability and stability that I wish could improve next year, so let's get started. Alright, first point is logging in issues here, which still can be a problem. Sometimes, you just want to go into the game and you got the infinite loading screen, and it turns out that there still can be 30k errors. It just would not tell you unless your game crashes, which happened to me yesterday. And then unfortunately the game is locked here, or at least your account is locked. You're supposed to go back to the shard that you were supposed to go to, but it didn't work, and then because of that you cannot change shards and you remain locked until your account is no longer bound to that shard. It's very annoying, although not game breaking, you just need to wait for a little time, but sometimes you just don't have a little time, right? Next, let's talk about missions that make you travel to Quantum, right? Well, the thing is that sometimes you just disconnect from Quantum. I think it's between servers, and it's also quite annoying, but it can happen more than one time, especially if you have long travels. Let's say, for example, from Arcor to Microtech, for example, you can disconnect easily from your Quantum at least 1 or 2 times, and this also needs to stop, in my opinion, because it just breaks the flow. Sometimes you go in Quantum, you want to go to the bathroom or a little bit AFK, because what is there to do, right? And unfortunately, you come back, you thought you would be at the planet that you'll be arriving to, and you end up in the middle of nowhere. It's also quite frustrating. Number 3, I would like CIG to remove armistice zones from ships. The reason why I'm saying that is because yesterday at the Rat Club, we tried to organize a pretty big operation with a lot of people. We had at least 12 people at some point, and unfortunately, our experience was ruined because a griefer entered our Idris and decided to ram the Idris, and then eventually got into the medical bay and was extremely difficult to get rid of. If there was no armistice zone inside our ships, just like there's no armistice zone inside our hangars, we could have easily disposed of him. Speaking of which, it would have been nice also if we could give authorization for the usage of the medbed. For example, maybe only people who are part of the party would be able to use the medbed. That way, people would not use that medbed to respawn and continue to grief us. Number 4. I would like to have more stability overall. I still think that a lot of people have a lot of crash to desktops, especially in combat when we are using capital ships. I've also noticed that refueling is not always working. It depends on the shard. Some shards it always works, some shards it doesn't work at all. And there's still a lot of desync issues, especially when we're doing dogfighting, which can sometimes cause you to die when you're not supposed to die, or even crash when you think there's nothing, but the game thinks there's actually an object. Number 5. I hope there can be more missions per reputation level. I was very surprised to see that, for example, Ling only has 1 level, so it doesn't matter if you keep on grinding their missions, you will always be stuck at the same level. And they're not the only ones, being in this case here, and CIG need to add more missions so that progression can be meaningful for those particular factions in the game, because, well, a lot of people really like to have, for example, transport or do some combat mission or do some smuggling, but if you always end up doing the same missions, it ends up being boring very quickly. Number 6. CIG needs to refine the cleanup system. Now, I know there's been some effort here to remove some abandoned ships or abandoned debris or objects that have been cluttered around several areas, including, for example, some outposts. The problem is that sometimes the game thinks that the ship that you are using is also trash that it needs to remove, which is really a problem. It happened to me the other day. I was doing some delivery missions in the Pyro system. I arrived at Rustville on Pyro 1, and then the ship just turned purple and disappeared completely, leaving me stranded, and this is something that should never happen, especially if you spend a lot of time loading your ship and you are going to start the process of unloading. It's extremely frustrating. Speaking of things that are frustrating, how about bounty hunting and you realize that there's no cargo in the ships that you are destroying? Sure, of course you're supposed to be destroying those ships here, but in the past there used to be some juicy cargo in bounty hunting ships, and unfortunately it's not the case anymore. Very often they are empty, and it's just not worth going outside in EVA and taking what they have. I just hope that sometimes, like not always of course, right, but from time to time we could have like some juicy cargo with some valuable materials or maybe illegal goods that we could eventually take for ourselves and then sell. In the past it used to open so many opportunities for piracy or combat at the locations where you would sell them, like the junkyards for example, and I think that CIG once again are missing up on a ton of emergent gameplay, and that is unfortunate. Next, I hope that landing zones can be fixed, especially Area 18, which has been quite a problem unfortunately. First, when you log in here, you are in your hab sometimes and you just leave your hab, it's just empty, you fall to your death. Of course, you can always respawn to the hospital if that is your starting location, but that being said, it is still something that should not be happening. It looks like a major oversight here from CIG, who seem that they didn't really do proper quality assurance, and it just looks bad. Also, I tried to buy some ships at Astor Armada, and the doors would just not open, so I was not able to buy ships, and that again is very frustrating, especially if there are ships that are only available there. Next, CIG need to fix their delivery mission. It's awesome that we have the box delivery missions back in Star Citizen. I love it. I'm doing a lot of those in Levski. Apparently, a lot of these missions are going to come back at other star systems. That's fantastic. The problem with Levski is that sometimes you need to drop off your boxes on top of some containers or some random shelf, and they are already boxes from someone else's mission, and unfortunately you cannot put that because those boxes from someone else's missions do not despawn and can take the entire room where you're supposed to drop off your box, and as a result you cannot complete the mission. So CIG needs to bring back, I don't know, the Kovalek drop boxes. That would be nice. Or how about we just drop those boxes at a shelf to an NPC like we used in the past. It was awesome, it was immersive, and I just wish that it could come back. Last but not least, I hope that we could keep our looted items. And then when I'm talking about looted items, I'm talking about ship looted items from patch to patch. For example, let's say you find some juicy NDB neutron guns, you equip them to your ship, and then once the next patch is coming, they're off your ship, and not just that, they're also off your inventory and you have to loot them again. It's very annoying. Now, of course, if you actually get them from Wicklow or from some kind of a hangar, I think that you are going to keep them, but if you take them from someone else's ship, you are not going to keep them from patch to patch. I think that it is annoying, in my opinion. I think that we should keep them from patch to patch as a reward, for example, for scavenging or exploring the verse. Anyway, guys, these are my top 10 improvements wishlist for 2026. Is there anything else that you'd like CIG to improve? Do you have any other constructive criticism? Let me know in the comment section down below. That is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I would like to give a big shout out to my Patreon and YouTube members without whom I wouldn't be able to make all of that content. And of course, a special thanks to Sauerkraut for becoming our latest member. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful day. Cheers.